Hey there guys and gals, my name is Dan51, and this is a step-by-step tutorial on how to draw Dr. Flap from This World of Weird. The software and hardware I am using is the newest version of Krita with a XP Pen Artist 12 Pro on Windows 10. If you do not have a drawing tablet or a computer or anything of that sort, you can always just follow along with a piece of paper. It'll work the same. First, you draw a circle. I use the circle tool because I'm lazy and I'm terrible at drawing circles. If you're skilled at drawing circles, go ahead and draw with an actual circle by freehand. Take your brush or your pencil and on a new layer, if you're using digital, draw this little a rounded connection between the top and the bottom of one of the sides of the circle. Once you have connected these 2 points on the circle, you can erase the line in between them so that it's got this circle with one flattened out edge. Flattened out corner? Circles don't have corners. Then we're going to go onto his face. Draw 2 circles here and here. Do not worry if your drawing doesn't look exactly like mine. Everyone's going to have a different result, and you can always choose to stylize it if you want. Then you can go on to drawing his nose, which is kind of like a backwards check mark. The pupils of Flap and all the other This World of Weird characters are simplistic style to make it more easy to draw them and animate them once they're animated. They're simply just solid black ovals in his eyes. An art tip is to make it so that these characters look the other way from the way that you have them facing. So if they're facing left, they look right. If they're facing right, they look left. It just adds a little bit of dynamic posing to them in a very simple way. Flap is very tired. He doesn't get very much sleep, so make sure to add the bags under his eyes. They are a key element to him. Flap here has a very small smile. Very small mouth in general. If he was frowning, it would look like this. If his mouth is open, it might look like this with his teeth here. In my style, I always draw it off to one side instead of directly in the center of his face. I think it just makes him look a little bit cuter. But again, always feel free to stylize it and do what you think looks good in your style. Onto his goggles. Flap's goggles are 2 circles with a circle inside of them that are just slightly bigger than his eyes that go right above them. One of them, typically, depending on how much at an angle his face is, here I put his face right at the edge of his face. Wow, that was a sentence. I put his face right on the edge of his head to make it look like he's looking this way, facing that way, but he's actually looking this way with his pupils. Like I said, dynamic posing. So that means that I put one of the circles of his goggles slightly off the edge of his face. Draw another circle inside of them. And boom. We have the circles of his goggles, but they're not done yet. You have to connect them in between the center with a band. And one band goes right here as a little rectangle on the side. That shows that it's wrapping around his head here. The other one goes right down to just over the center of the circle. Feel free to erase the overlapping lines. And onto the hardest part of Flap's design. His spiky hair. Flap has a very unique silhouette due to his hair and his body shape. The hair is the hardest part to draw about him. His body is more easy. I'll take it step by step. First, you draw on a new layer, from right where the goggles meet his head here. You draw a little curved line going up a little bit. Pull that back in like a check mark, like his nose, just barely not touching the circle here, and draw another curved line going up. Another spike slash check mark. Even I struggle to draw his hair, so don't worry if you're having a very difficult time getting this to look right, because even I struggle with making it look good. There are many times, like right now, that I have to draw it over and over and over until it's how I want it. Draw that check mark, do this 3 more times, gradually getting further towards the edge. And then Flap's hair connects right above the band of his goggles here. Erase the line of his head here. Oops, I erased a little bit of the goggles. Erase the circle of the top of his head. Erasing a little bit of the goggles in the process by accident. And there you go. There's Flap's head. Now onto his body, which is actually a little bit easier in my opinion. Coming off from here, the connecting point between his band of his goggles and his head, draw a half circle type thing. Like a box with a rounded edge, but not quite that harsh, more like this. Something like that. And then from halfway into his chin, draw a straight line down. Flap is also relatively short. Make sure this line here is about half the length of his head, from his face to his goggles. Draw another 2 lines to represent the collar of his jacket. Where it's not fully buttoned up, he has the blue shirt underneath here. Connect them up with some curved lines. And draw a flat line a little bit up into the shirt, into the jacket, to show these will be his pants here, this will be his shirt here. Now onto his arms. Normally, in his idle position, he'll put his fingers together, but you do not have to follow the same rule if you do not want to. You can make him waving, you can make his arms down at his sides, you can do whatever you want. Today I'll be doing his classic idle pose, due to that being his iconic look. Draw about somewhere on his body a sausage of sorts for his pointer finger and connect them with 2 semicircles at the edge like that. Draw this mirrored on the other side. Now draw his thumb going straight up, basically the same way as you did his pointer finger, and wrap his arm around like this. A curved line going all the way around and back into his body. Then do on the other side, his arm starts around here on his body. So start by drawing a circle that goes, or a tube that goes down and curves into his arm. Then he can't just have naked arms. I mean, he could, but that's not how his design is. If you wanted to draw him with ripped off sleeves, go right ahead. But Flap does not typically have ripped off sleeves. His sleeves of his lab coat are very droopy. So on a new layer, draw a circle coming off from his wrist down to here and back up, stopping at this part of his wrist. And then draw in a little half circle here and go back to his arm layer and erase just this line. Do the same on the other side. Erase this part of his arm. And there we go. Now, onto his legs. One of the shockingly weirder parts to get looking right, because even though they're basically just tubes that come off of his body, the positioning and how far apart they are makes a huge difference. Give it enough space so that Flap's leg has a little bit of an indent here and goes down about the length of his body. Draw it on the other side. And here, this is where it gets a little bit weird, finding the exact right spot that you want Flap's other leg. Typically, I draw it just off to the side of his arm slightly, so down from here. And there are his legs. Draw on his feet by making another extra line and a flat line at the bottom. Connect those up with a half circle and a backwards half circle, kind of like an S. Do the same thing on the other side. And there you go. You have successfully drawn Dr. Flap. If you're interested in coloring him on digital, you could either copy the colors directly from this video, screenshot, or you can just choose the colors yourself. If you're using colored pencils, you can also do that. This is Flap's reference sheet. These are his 5 main colors. Each of the This World of Weird characters, well, the majority of them, have only 5 colors to keep it simple. He's got skin tone for his head and hands. Take the white, or in this case, a slightly very, very light blue-gray, and color in his lab coat. If you're on paper, just leave it the paper color, or if you're on digital and like it solid white, leave it solid white. Take this blue color and fill, it's a very light blue, and fill in his shirt, the only part of his body that has this. The goggles also have the same white color for the lenses as his lab coat. He has this grayish blue for his pants and for the rims of his goggles, and this dark blue, which is almost black, for the band of his goggles and for his shoes. And there, you have successfully colored in Dr. Flap. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and liking and sharing with a friend if they might want to draw Dr. Flap. Who does? I have no idea. Thank you for watching. Have an explosively good day. I'll see you next time.